what are your thoughts on binding arbitration? Like, what were you telling your colleague?
I come from the fact that we've got a situation where collective bargaining is what happens in this universe. Those basically collective bargaining is so a group of people come together and they collectively have someone bargaining for them. It's a American notion and it's worked. I mean, there's some that say they get rid of collective bargaining. I'm not one of those. With that, especially in the teachers' construct, you have situations like the East Providence one, where when you don't have a resolution of a conflict, it ends up in court, ends up with a lot of volatility and a lot of angst and a lot of money being spent, and it can lead to a lot of hard feelings, both in terms of the administrations of towns, the teachers of those towns, ultimately the students and the parents of those towns that get frustrated because things aren't working the way and they should all be focused on the classroom. So many of these side issues can take away from that. So I think there needs to be something so you don't repeat the East Providence. How do you bring contract disputes to a conclusion as quickly and as intelligently as possible? Binding arbitration has been offered as a proposal.
Do you think it would work?
I'm not sure at this point, and that's one of the main reasons why we didn't vote on it either. I think it does need more study. I don't know if it would work, and I don't know what the ramifications of it in terms of policy, whether it will work, socially, what does it do to the social makeup of the educational experience that we've got going on in the state? What does it mean fiscally to the state and each local community? All those questions are big question marks. So I think that's why the House did not take it up, because there's too many of those questions unanswered. Then you add on there that you had a lot of cities and towns, and we received probably more emails and calls on binding arbitration against it than any issue that I faced in my 20 years here. This year it was on fire, from mayors to administrators, school committees, councils, town administrators, universally, do not do binding arbitration this year. And that factored into my decision and the committee's decision to hold that for further study until we can look at what it is.
You mentioned that you heard from a lot of administrators and school committee members.
Yes.
Do you think that necessarily means they represent the Rhode Island constituents out there? Or do they just have a vested interest in not seeing this through? And the example that I use for myself is so my editor, if I were to tell him that there was now going to be an outside panel that decided if if the decisions he made for me were right or not, I'm sure that he would disagree with it. And that's kind of the role that school committees and administrators are in. So I'm not sure what the people of Rhode Island...
And that is, you've stated a mouthful that goes right into sort of this, the uncertainties of this. Because you also have to weigh, and there's a tendency out there to suggest that just the teachers' unions have vested interests. But vested interest comes in all shapes and forms and on all sides. So I think that's a perfect setup to another one of those issues is a lot of school committees. Is it because you've got a vested interest? But I think and that's one of those things we don't know at this point. The House of Representatives does not know at this point. But also in terms of deciding, not only did I hear from them, but I heard from a whole lot of constituents from my district as well as other districts saying, hold on. A lot of people also saying, very much how I feel, don't rush to judgment. Don't do this because you do not know all the ramifications. And a lot of it was gained because it's sign of the times again on the fiscal impact of it. So from a broad base of people, when you hear that, and I'm hearing my reps talk about it, and I'm hearing in my own questioning of it, it led to the point of hold this thing for further study. I've made a commitment that we're going to keep looking at it. I'm now discussing whether I should put together a working group or some sort of officially organized or not organized work to vet this, because I do believe that we want to make sure that ultimately, and we all want the same thing, our kids to achieve in classroom. That's going to require a committed, prepared teacher, and it's going to require that there's peace in the land, if you will, in terms of education bill.